Okay, so I combine this support skill with this one for this spell, then change to this weapon that has more of the elemental damage I need, and I can finally take down this boss. Hi guys, I made a new best friend, it's this green. We spent so much time together over the last couple weeks. For many years now I've been seeing people recommend Path of Exile, with a lot calling it even better than Diablo. With the launch of the new ARPG Path of Exile 2, I thought, you know what, let's see what this is all about. Now I hear some of you asking, what is an ARPG? What is Diablo, and how many questions will you ask? Stick with me until the end and all these questions and more will be answered. Let me give you a brief introduction so that all this can make sense. A long time ago, a small indie company saw the popularity one of their games had, namely Warcraft, and decided to capitalize on it by making a completely different game. So they slapped an edgy name on it and created a masterpiece. This was basically a role-playing game that was more focused on the action, hence the name. Where you go from map to map, plow through hordes of enemies using different skills and progress through the story. Like any RPG that respects itself, you start by killing small creatures and end with killing the devil itself. There were a lot of things that made this so successful, but in my opinion the two things that stood out was the customization you had for your skills and the loot. Oh, the loot. For the skills, you would be able to choose between different attack styles and spells and create a custom build that you prefer. This build could be perfected by choosing the right armor pieces and weapons to go with it, and some of them would even enhance certain skills in some aspects. The looting side is what pushed this game to be a masterpiece. When you finally manage to kill a boss you were struggling with and it drops a much better weapon than the one you had, it feels so rewarding. Even more if you kill just a random mob and that drops one legendary. That's just drugs in the form of pixels. Lastly, the one thing I absolutely enjoyed in Diablo games, specifically in Diablo 3, was to level up a character to the max and then assign the points that would remain for newly built characters. That way, when you start a new character you feel so overpowered. Sure, you might have spent 100 hours to grind to that point, but when you reached it, it felt so satisfying. So I'd say those were the things that made Diablo games nice for me. As someone who has spent a while playing games from the Blizzard multiverse, I was also interested in the enemy design for the enemies here. They felt very much Blizzard-like. I mean, look at this butcher, is this not straight out of Dota?
Fresh meat.
As such, when this new game Path of Exile came out, I did not really look into it too much. I never even tried to watch gameplay of it. Let me know if this sounds familiar to you, but I thought, hey, if I want to play something like that, why not just play Diablo? Surprisingly though, over the course of the years, the name kept popping up. This game was not to die and be forgotten in 1 or 2 years. No, this game would reach its peak player count 11 years after it launched. I want you guys to think of another game that reached its peak player count more than 10 years after its release. No, we don't talk about that one. So when I heard that initially the game was going to be an expansion, but the developers kept adding stuff, so they decided to do it from scratch and create a new game, I was a bit curious. Whilst I was playing Diablo 4 and having fun bumping into invisible walls, people started talking more and more about this new game and how amazing it's gonna be.
Thanks.
Well, with the creation of this channel where I try games I do not normally play, hashtag go watch my other videos, hashtag subscribe cause it helps, I thought fine, I'll buy it. Let me ask you this though. Considering Diablo 4 was £60 at release, sorry, $59.99 because the marketing guys read too much predictably irrational, how much do you think this game costs? £40? £30? Close. It costs nothing. This game will be completely free after it's fully released. And it's not even a live service mobile game for those of you that don't have phones. From what I was able to see, the only monetization is in cosmetics. Right, but who are the actual developers for this? It's 2024, what is the catch Grinding Gear Games? So Grinding Gear Games is a small company from New Zealand that announced their first game in September 2010. Nick minutes in 2013, their first game was released. Apparently it was all free to play and only supported by cosmetics, and that's how it was kept to the extent of my knowledge until now. This is reassuring because they have a good track record, meaning you don't start investing time in it only for them later on to introduce a mechanic that requires you to put money in it. Guys, please protect this company as they are too precious. Okay then, let's see what made this game so hyped. Currently there are 6 classes you can choose from. I say currently because they are working on 2 more classes at the moment that will be released either before or at full release. You currently have the Monk, a melee class that seems to be quite agile, Ranger, the good old Archer, Sorceress, the good old Mage, Witch, Mage but emo, Warrior, the class that in theory should be tanky but it won't feel that way at the start, and finally Mercenary, because they wanted to add guns to this game but keep it theme accurate. The next two classes will be Druid and Huntress. How much will this cost? If what they're saying is true, then these will be completely free as well. Imagine adding a new class and not asking for £30 for it. What a bunch of losers, right Blizzard? I really hope this won't age poorly. For this video I wanted to try both long range and short range to see how they are different. I went for Ranger and Monk. I will quickly point out something about the controls I really liked. So in Diablo you would move by clicking the mouse and then use spells with your keyboard. This is mostly fine, but I was sometimes having issues when playing ranged characters from the PC, as you have to kite the enemies as you are attacking them, and it made me feel like playing StarCraft rather than Diablo. This game introduced a new way of playing it, using the WASD keys to move around instead of clicking. This is such a game changer. Especially for this game, it's very much needed. I probably avoided so many deaths by having this. I heavily recommend using this layout for keyboard and mouse. Okay, so we start the game and you go through the usual kill your first enemy, drop your first weapon and learning how to play the game. So you kill enemies, then some enemies drop weapons or equipment and you can pick them up and hey, this is amazing, it's one of those games that has minigames included in it. I thought those were trademarked. Look, you need to play Tetris with your inventory. Yeah, so there is an element of storage organizing, as you cannot simply pick up everything, otherwise your backpack will get filled every 5 minutes. I'll get to that in a bit.
Rather not break my back.
But yeah, so you can use spells and use mana and health potions. Great. Look at that, you also have a dodge. You press space to dodge and... oh dear. So right from the start, this game looks more like Diablo 1 and 2 rather than 3 and 4. You can get killed even by normal enemies. So that brings me to the first major point of the game, the difficulty. As someone who came from Diablo 3 where you can shut off your brain and just make your way through enemies, this game forced me to use my second brain cell. Wake up buddy, I need you for this. Whenever you fight a boss you need to... what the kids say nowadays? Lock in. You need to lock in, if you don't you will die. You got too greedy and attacked too much, you die. You didn't dodge, you die. Let me emphasize a bit how hard the bosses can be. Usually I'm the type of player that would just hoard every potion that the game gives and every buff so that I can use it later when I actually need it, only to never use it and finish the game with my backpack full of them. In this one? No. I get one item to buff my armor, instantly using it. I get this rune that I'd normally save for a legendary? No chance, I'll use it now. Let me make this clear though, all of this is not to complain that the game is too hard. It took me by surprise indeed, but I have felt so engaged in it all the time. I actually had to learn the patterns and attacks of bosses in order to have a chance. I guess a lot of people would compare this to the Dark Souls games with the dodge mechanic and all, but I think I'd prefer to compare it with World of Warcraft raids, as the attacks of the bosses are similar to that. To the people who have played this, what comparison would you use? Let me know as I'm quite curious. On the bright side, once you defeat an enemy after many attempts, it feels very satisfying. It makes you feel like you learned to play the game more and that you deserve to win. So what do you actually win? Well, let's talk about the loot for this game. You know how I said earlier that you need to play Tetris with your inventory? It's not too bad actually. Why? Because the loot is a lot more scarce in this one. I may be wrong, but I remember in Diablo 3 legendary and green items were dropping left and right. Same goes with Diablo 4, to the point where the excitement wasn't from dropping a legendary but from how good the stats of the legendary was. In this game I quite like that the legendaries are quite rare. Not only legendaries though, as even epic items are quite rare. So when you do get a legendary it feels like Christmas. If you do have the gold, certain NPCs in towns will sell items and weapons, and why does this lady make a vampire accent? My tribe can use it, blah blah blah. Anyway, yeah, you can buy some items and mystery items that have different rarities with a chance of getting uniques too. The issue? Well, you get moments where you spend hours on a boss and when you finally defeat him you get nothing. Now, this might be different later on in the game. This is just based on my experience so far. This could be very much different later on, but yeah, I thought it was worth mentioning. Onwards we go then, without loot, to defeat bosses and level up. Let's assign the points we were given from leveling up into... do I need a math degree for this? The first time I opened this menu I could not believe it. Just look at all these passives you can assign points to. Balancing must be a nightmare for this game. Actually, what am I even talking about right now? This is a PvE game, why would balancing be needed? Let your characters be overpowered, right, Diablo and Helldivers? Right. Luckily there is absolutely no more passives after this. Sorry, what? There are? Oh, you have ascendancy classes as well, which adds even more complexity. Moving on then, let's talk about the story of the game. Or not. See, one of my issues with ARPG games is following the story. Even in Diablo I found it quite hard to follow what is happening. I believe this is all because it's in text form and it's given to you whilst you are thinking what items to equip or what things you need to change. For this one I did try to follow the story, and whilst I cannot tell you how good the story is, I can tell you that the creators did an incredible job making the world not feel static at all. The world you are in moves, and there are some scenes that make you feel like you're in a Denis Villeneuve movie. I'm not sure how to pronounce that correctly, so let's ignore that and show you what I mean. I'll try not to spoil too much, but at one point you need to help some people with moving a caravan that is blocked by a gate, I think. So you go on top of the bridge and raise the gate, and the caravan actually starts moving in the background now. I have never thought an ARPG can have this much immersion. And this is just one example. The game is filled with such moments in the campaign. I will leave the rest out so you can experience them yourself if you haven't already. Right, so how do the maps work? You walk around killing hordes of small mobs, get low on health and use the health potions to restore it. You run out of potion charges and you don't feel well, so you have to go back to the town to fill the well. Find a boss on the map, get killed by it until you kill it. Let's talk about the boss design for a bit. A lot of bosses in this game surprise me. The first time you see a lot of them will surprise you too. They either have a grand entrance, have abilities that are very much unique, or are integrated with the area very well. Or even all of the above combined. At the moment, there are some bosses that are so grand in design that they might even break the game a bit. Watch this. So not only this boss is hard, at the time of playing this, dodging around the bottom of the area glitches you out so you don't see for a few seconds in which you can just die. And he survived with 1 HP. This is fine. One more thing that I want to talk about before finishing is the abilities. So in Diablo games you'd usually have different sets of abilities you can choose from for different categories. It's going to make more sense if I explain it a bit. So you want to use the left click to do a normal attack as a voodoo witch in Diablo 3? Well, you can either throw spiders, throw frogs or throw poison darts. If you want to do more than one, well, you can't because you can only have one option for the basic attack. Same goes with special attacks or defensive spells. In Path of Exile, however, this is different. In here, use spell gems to assign spells to your characters, but there is absolutely nothing stopping you from having multiple normal attacks or multiple specials to create whatever weird combination you want. Will it work? Probably not, and you will die, but you'll die regardless, so why not have fun while doing it? So not only that, but you also have support gems which gives different benefits to spells, and those have a large variety as well, so you can combine those in different ways too. The amount of customization for skills is insane in this game. You can spend hours theory crafting your abilities. Now, is this game perfect? At least at the moment, not really, and from what I can see, this is especially true if you're a big fan of the first game, as obviously that had a lot more time to be developed, so it has a lot more content. In saying that, whilst you have to pay for the early access, the game will be released soon for free, so if you're not interested in it now, I would say it's at least worth a try when it's released, if you are into those type of games. I for one had a lot more fun in it than I had in Diablo 4. If you do decide to buy the game in early access, you will also be given some in-game currency, which is a fantastic bonus. With all that being said, I'm going back to my new best friend, so I'll see you guys in the next one. If you did watch this until the end, I challenge you to be a monk, summon the subscribe bell and smash it to be notified when the next video comes out. Bye!